Hey, howdy everybody. Lightheart here. And today I'm talking about something which has been a big part of my life, which for a while was a big hindrance. And some of you know what I'm talking about if you've already read the title. I'm talking about Asperger syndrome. I'm going to explain what it is and how I've dealt with living with it. Before we begin, please like, subscribe down below, check out my other pages, and let's get going. Now, many people talk about Asperger syndromes they hear about. They know, most of you know that it's autistic, but not a lot of people know precisely what it is. I end up hearing about this one lady who tried saying that it was a disease, that it can be cured. And I want to tell you that she is wrong. She is lying through her teeth. Either that or she believes it and is willing to ignore all facts of medicine and science. According to doctors, psychiatrists, and real scientists, Asperger's syndrome is a developmental disorder affecting the ability to effectively socialize and communicate. It's it's basically a mental disorder. There are fewer than 200,000 US cases per year. Asperger's, for a bit more of a refined definition, Asperger's syndrome is a condition on the autism spectrum with generally higher functioning. People with this condition may be socially awkward and have an all-absorbing interest in specific topics. Communication training and behavioral therapy can help with the syndrome. Well, help people with the syndrome learn to socialize more successfully. I am reading this off. Please forgive me for my stutter. For a more refined definition on the symptoms, some of the behavioral things are aggression, compulsive behavior, fidgeting, impulsibility, repetitive movements, social isolation, and persistent repetition of words or actions. And now I think about it, it kind of helps explain some of my pacing. Never thought about it like that till now. And then there's muscular, which, muscular symptoms are inability to combine muscle movements, poor coordination, or they say here, or tic. I'm not entirely certain what that means. For mood, anger, anxiety, or apprehension. Also common are depression, intense interest in a limited number of things, learning disability, nightmares, or sensitivity to sound. As for treatment, communication therapy and behavioral therapy can help people with the syndrome to learn to socialize more successfully. So, some of you probably heard that twice, but it gives you an idea of some of the stuff which I've dealt with. And now I want to talk about how it's affected my life. When I was younger, I think I was 2 years behind on maturity. I was also extremely gullible. I was literally tricked into thinking that Six Flags didn't exist. Yeah, and it was one of my aunts who did that. Looking back at some of the crazy stuff that I believed, I remember going to a to a college once on on an activity, and one of my friends ended up convincing me that there was a kid who was a senior and had a physical disorder that made him look like a 10-year-old kid. And I bought that for a while. It's kind of funny looking back on some of the crazy stuff I believed. And it also tied in with my learning disability. I had a harder time learning things compared to other kids. I especially struggled in English, science, and a lot more of the technical lessons. Mm, it was hard. Anything, I was pretty good at basic math. Frankly, I'm no expert at algebra, but simplistic math is something I'm good at to this day. It's it's but I'm glad that I've had good parents. They ended up deciding because of my disorder, they decided instead of sticking with the public school system like they were with my older brother, and to no, and instead of private schools, stuff like that, they decided to homeschool me. And they ended up doing that with the rest of my siblings as well. And I thank them for that. I don't know if at that time I could survive in such a in such an environment. And I knew that if the school system back then is like it is today, there's no way I'd be able to handle it. I remember going to several therapists, speech therapists, uh, no, no, somebody who helped me with writing, no, and even social therapists. And I remember going to that, and I'll admit it was fun. But I'm glad for those therapists who helped me open the doors re- to reading, writing, talking, communicating. I know how the last two kind of go together, but they helped me a lot. But also remember very well some of the things I've struggled with throughout my life, like my anxiety. I deal with it every now and then. I've got to try and deal with that personally, and it's like I have a fear of saying something, then people getting angry, of people hating me. Or even doing something wrong and messing up and trying to work around that. Just, I've always thought of the worst case scenarios of where those roads can lead. It's hard for me. Another thing that I've struggled throughout my life is depression. I remember looking into a mirror and hating what I saw. I was a kid whose head didn't work quite right, and I knew it. I, I'm not no perfect person, and I always beat myself. I used to beat myself up for stuff I did. I, I've always, I remember being this close to taking my own life. I remember I remember wanting to do so many things that I pray nobody else would dream about, and yet I know there are people out there who do. If it wasn't for, if it wasn't, and forgive me for for being a bit religious here, but if it wasn't for no, for God and my family, for their love and care, I would not be here today. But I want to tell you what helped me overcome, what kept, some of the stuff that's helped me move on. The first main thing is, and forgive me for being religious, but it was God. Because I still don't know how God could love me so much. Why he did what he did. It's still something that baffles me. But his love has kept me these years throughout all my life. I could always turn to God. Then there was my family, especially mom and dad. They've been so good to me. They they got no. I'm not the only kid. I got two brothers, three sisters. They love us all. And this is coming from that came from my dad, who came from a broken family, who had somebody come into his life and taught him everything he knew, who passed away a few months ago. Sterling Shaw. He helped my dad so much. He was a true man, a true leader. I could spend all day talking about what he taught my dad, the impact that man made in other lives, and how he changed my dad's life, how he gave my dad the tools to be a good father, to be an honest man, to be a good husband. And I love my mom, who came from a godly family, who's who's always been patient with me, who was always there whenever I needed her, who who was the perfect match for my dad. She those two were were made for each other, and they care for my whole no for both of my brothers, for all my sisters. I love them so much. Another big thing that one of the things which I ended up becoming pretty good at was learning about history. I find it very interesting. But one of the other things which has been a great help to my life is comedy. I remember one of the few reasons why I tried learning reading more. What got me more into that was the Garfield comics, which my dad had several of his books. He loved Garfield, and my dad ended up getting me these joke books, which I don't know if I still have them all, but they helped me open up I remember some of my dad's coworkers, they would lend my dad, some, some cassettes, this was before DVDs, but my dad would bring home videos of the Gaither Vocal Band. And there was one guy who made a big impact in my life, and that is Mark Lowry. Because Mark, he grew up with, being hyperactive. And he always joked about himself. Of course, he sometimes made fun of a few other people, but most of his comedy was focused to himself, his crazy life. He never let his hyperactivity bother him. He made fun of it. He laughed at it. He never had his weight bother him. He made fun of it. He laughed. There were so many jokes of his I could quote, and a few that I probably will in the future. I would love to meet that man. Comedy has always been a big thing to me because it taught me to laugh. It taught me to look at my problems and take them with a grain of salt. To take my disability and just make fun of it. I've made jokes about how I don't suffer from insanity and I enjoy it. No, I just enjoy every minute of it. Mm, I've learned to look at at these things which should hold me back and just laugh at it and not to take it too seriously. And I believe every person should do that because nowadays people are so offended by everything. I N- n- I enjoy it when I see a comedian who has a disability or he has this or that which he makes fun of. Something about himself which he can just laugh at. Because he's looking into the darkness. He's looking into these chains which should hold him back, and he's taking them apart and making balloon animals. He doesn't let, those people don't let it control them. And I've learned not to let my anxiety, my depression take over. I don't, because I could have let Asperger syndrome change me in two different directions. One was me always isolated, always scared. And one is to just look at and just laugh. Just realize that's a part of life. And that life is so much easier to take in when you don't take it too seriously. When you learn to smile in the face of hard times, when you learn to laugh in your darkest hours. When you can be told, when you can have the when you can run into the toughest moments of your life and look at them and find the joke and laugh at it. That's when you learn to overcome. I am not perfect, but I've learned to deal with the hand that was given to me. And one of the reasons why I like MLP so much, and I know it probably peaked at season 4, but I don't care what you say. No, well, I don't care if it did. It it helps autistic people. It talks about friendships, talks about socializing, talks about dealing with these things. And it was made for little girls, and yet it was so well written. It was such a great topic that it reached out and touched the lives of so many people. It's a great show, and I am sad to see that it's concluding. I hope that if G5 comes out, that it lives on with the idea of friendship, of caring for others. And I hope the community realizes that that's what this was based on, friendship. That's why it pandered to the middle-aged men, to everybody. No, to adults and kids alike. Because frankly, it was built on a friendship. Don't don't let. If I could give advice for you, it's don't let the hard times take over. Don't when you look into when the shadows come, look to the light. Always look at the bright side. If not, make something up. Never let the dark. Never let the. Never let depression take over. Learn. Just learn to laugh. To laugh at. Just learn to deal with the hand given to you and laugh at. Because when you stop taking your troubles seriously, life becomes so much easier. I am Lightheart, an autistic brony. I didn't say thee, I said Anne, because I know there are others of us out there. And I, and if I can change one life with this video, then that makes this whole channel worth it. I'll see you all next time.